And welcome back, our dear viewers. It's now time for our daily press review for today, Wednesday, the 23rd of December, 2015. And we are very much delighted to have our dear guest in the studio, Mr. Mohamed Sheta, the media expert, to review with us the press for today. Good morning, sir.
Very good morning. Very beautiful good morning to you and to yours,
of course. We are celebrating today the birth of Prophet Muhammad. I would like to congratulate you for this special occasion.
Of course, thank you very much, and happy Mood Nabi, of course, to you and to your family and to all the viewers of Nile TV as well.
Thank you very much, sir. And we start from المصري اليوم. For today, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi says he would not stay in office against the will of the Egyptians. The president made the comment in a speech at an event organized by Egypt's Endowment Ministry, celebrating the birth of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He also questioned why some are calling for the protest on the 25th of January, the anniversary of the 2011 uprising, which ousted Hosni Mubarak. The president said that he fears nothing and that he will not accept the destruction of Egypt. Addressing the newly elected members of the parliament, the Sisi asked them to put aside any kind of conflict and to concentrate on the challenges currently facing the country. He also stressed that the upcoming parliament will play a crucial role in the Egyptian society, more so than any other parliament before. Sir, how do you see yesterday's speech by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, during which he said that he will not stay in power against the will of the Egyptians, and he respects that, and the top priority is the safety and stability of the country?
I think it was a very interesting speech with lots of very interesting points. First of all, the fact that he said that he will not accept the destruction of Egypt actually shows how much the perception and how much the attitude towards demonstration has developed and has changed, because it's not only a matter of demonstrating, but now it's a matter of destructing and stopping the development of the country, actually.
Yes.
And we've seen what happened in the past 5 years. Actually, I think we went back, not only 5 years, we went back decades.
Yes, unfortunately, and we are paying the price for the repercussions of what happened.
We are paying the price, and we will still be paying the price for at least another 10 to 20 years. So I think anybody calling up for new demonstrations on the 25th of January is really completely irresponsible and really must have a hidden agenda somewhere, because anyone with the minimum numbers of brain cells, you know, he would not ask and invite people to demonstrate again after what we've seen, not only in Egypt, but what we've seen around Egypt as well. Just look at what happens in Syria right now, what happened in Libya, what happened in Tunisia, what happened in Yemen. So I think we're on the right track, and I think it was a very good thing that President Sisi mention and focus again on the point that he will not allow the destruction of Egypt. The other very important point is when he asked the members of parliament to put aside any kind of conflict and arguments and concentrate on the challenges currently facing the country. The problem is that lots of the new members of parliament are actually TV presenters.
Yes.
So they're going to make it like a win-win situation for their job and in the TV station, as well as their job in the parliament. And I think this is going to be the first time we really hear lots of insider information from inside the parliament on TV shows. And
it depends how it will work now after this new form of MPs, anchors as well, TV presenters.
I think it's going to be a very entertaining parliament. So, and we've seen the past couple of days and weeks the hype which a very silly and childish argument between two wannabe TV presenters and another editor-in-chief took, and I think this is really a waste of time for the Egyptians. We should really focus.
We want concrete measures on the ground to start if they are doing coalition or whatever, and real work on the ground, not these
not only real work. We really want them to focus on what the people chose them, exactly, and not to serve themselves and serve their TV programs. So this is another very important point, and I hope the Egyptians will recognize who was wasting their time and wasting his time, which he was supposed to give for the country and for the people who voted for him, and spend that time on his TV show. So let's wait and see.
Of course, and moving to Al-Ahram, and we read, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received on Tuesday former President of the Republic of Mali and the African Union envoy to South Sudan, Alpha Omar Konari. Presidency spokesman Ambassador Ala Youssef said that the President stressed Egypt's support for the peace agreement in southern Sudan. He pointed out the importance of strengthening efforts to achieve peace building and lay the foundations for future security and stability in South Sudan, for appreciating the climate, for rather appropriate climate in order to achieve economic development of the desired configuration and meet the aspirations of the people of South Sudan for a better future. The President said that Egypt always supports the efforts of the African envoy Konari and his keenness on continuous consultations and coordination with all the concerned parties. He also stressed that Egypt will exert its best to support the African and international states in their efforts to adhere Convention of Peace. El-Sisi confirmed that Egypt will always support its neighbors in South Sudan and other African countries in order to strengthen stability and security in the continent. Yesterday, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with the envoy of the African Union to South Sudan, Alpha Omar Konari, and the President of Mali. How do you see these meetings, the meeting with Konari, and to what extent Egypt could help in solving the issue of Sudan?
Actually, it's not only a matter of Sudan. Meeting with the special envoy shows how Egypt is now focusing also on strengthening their ties with all the neighboring African countries. I think it has a much deeper reason. Actually, I think it has lots to do with the fact that we want to convince all the other African countries that maybe what's happening in Ethiopia and what the strategy of the government in Addis Ababa currently is not really in favor, of course, not in favor in Egypt, for Egypt, and that it's also not in favor for the security and safety and stability of Africa in general. So this reminds me actually with the visit also of President el-Sisi to Cyprus and Greece, and of course many Egyptian citizens would probably not really understand why visit Greece and Cyprus at this stage, especially that Greece is suffering lots of economical problems these days. But actually, if you look at it from another perspective, Greece and Cyprus are direct neighbors to Turkey. So I think it's very important, if we have a problem with Turkey and Qatar and maybe other states, it's very important to be even in closer talks with their neighboring countries as well, in order to help Egypt at the end of the day to reach their goals. So I think it's a very strategic move and a very strategic meeting as well. And it's very important that Egypt makes it very clear to all the African nations and all the African neighbors what our interests, where our interests are, and what Egypt is seeking for the future.
Of course. Moving to Sada al-Balad, and we read Sudanese Foreign Minister Ibrahim Ghandour said that there are preparations between Khartoum and Cairo to hold an upcoming summit between President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and President Omar Hassan al-Bashir. Ghandour said to Al-Ra'y Al-'Am newspaper that there are consultations between the concerned ministers of Sudan and Egypt to prepare for the meetings of the Supreme Joint Ministerial Commission between the two countries to discuss many issues of common interest. Preparations are taking place as it was published between the officials in Egypt and Sudan for a meeting between President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and his Sudanese counterpart Omar al-Bashir. What the importance of this meeting?
Like I just mentioned a minute ago, it's very important to strengthen the ties with our neighbors, especially with Sudan. Actually, we should have the best relation with Sudan, because actually we can benefit, both countries can benefit from each other a lot. We have lots of resources which we could use. We have lots of laborers and labor workers which we could send to Sudan, and they have lots of agriculture projects which we could also use in order of importing all what we need from Russia or from other countries which are far away. We can just import them from our neighbors, or even work together on common projects. So I think it's it's very important, and I think during the next couple of years we'll see the relationship between Egypt and Sudan strengthening to probably unprecedented levels, and it's definitely into the right direction as well.
Indeed. Moving to أخبار اليوم. And we read UK Ambassador to Cairo John Kaysen welcomed on Tuesday the Egyptian government's agreement with international company Control Risk to review and enhance security conditions in Egypt's airports nationwide. The leading international security and risk advisory company will review the security procedures at the airport. Kaysen also stated that the deal would boost the joint plan that Britain and Egypt agreed on to soon allow the return of flights from the UK to Sharm el-Sheikh. According to the press conference held earlier on Tuesday in Cairo, Egypt Minister of Tourism Hisham Zazua revealed that Cairo and Sharm el-Sheikh airports will be the first to be reviewed. Of course, Egypt and the United Kingdom are seeing some conditions and arrangements in order to have security or to increase the security procedures in all the airports in Egypt. So how do you see that move? And I believe that we did actually start to increase the security procedures in our airports. How do you see that?
Well, I'm not really surprised that the UK ambassador is really happy that Egypt signed a deal with the international company called Control Risk, because actually Control Risk is a UK-based company, so it's definitely in the interest of the UK to have a British company or a UK-based company making such a big deal and signing such a big deal with Egypt. And I don't know, he said that the deal would boost the joint plan. So does this mean that it was a pre-requirement to sign a deal with a British company or UK-based company before allowing flights back to Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada? If that was the fact, then it might have a different taste for me, especially at least for me. Anyway, they're happy now. So I hope they will trust the results of the company after they review the airports. And like I said also last week, it is definitely only in the interest of Egypt to be very open and to be very transparent with the international tourism markets. So so hopefully this will allow and this will encourage tourists to come to Egypt much earlier.
And still with أخبار اليوم newspaper we read, the Arab League welcomed the Green Parliament vote to recognize Palestine as an independent state. Arab League Assistant Secretary General for Palestinian Affairs Dr. Saeed Abu Ali stated on Tuesday that the Palestinian sector in the Arab League has welcomed this important and positive step, which is considered a path to peace. Abu Ali praised the Greek Parliament for that move, strengthening that it is time for the rest of the world parliaments to recognize the Palestinian state. Abu Ali said that Greece always stood beside the people of Palestine, praising the ongoing Greek support at the United Nations when the UN declared that Palestine is an observer member. Mr. Sheta, how do you see that move of the Arab League welcoming the Greek parliament to recognize Palestine as an independent state?
Of course, the Arab League must be happy that the Greek Parliament voted to recognize Palestine as an independent state. Actually, I think all the Arabs, not only the Arab League, are very happy with this point. Of course, such a move from the Greek Parliament will put even more pressure on Israel to sit again on the negotiation table and move on with a feasible and a reasonable peace process and peace agreement with the Palestinian side. And I think the more pressure there is from the international community and from different states, the more pressure there is on Israel, that the earlier we get to a reasonable peace agreement in the region, and hopefully this will finally end this dispute between those two states anytime very soon.
Moving to Al Ahram newspaper, where we read Egypt's stock market closed in the green zone for the 7th session in a row, as the benchmark EGX 30 index on Tuesday inched up 0.1% to reach 6,769 points with a turnover of 552 million Egyptian pounds. The small and mid-cap EGX 70 index and the broader EGX 100 index inched up 0.28% and 0.34% respectively. Arab and local institutions were net buyers, recording net flows of 5.4 million Egyptian pounds and 67 million Egyptian pounds respectively, while foreign institutions were net sellers, recording net flows of 63 million Egyptian pounds. The EGX market capital gained 760 million Egyptian pounds to hit 423.48 billion Egyptian pounds compared to 422.72 billion Egyptian pounds on Monday. So how do you read the performance of the Egyptian stock market, which closed in the green zone for the 7th session in a row?
Well, although it closed in the green session again for the 7th time in the row, I think the numbers are still quite modest.
Yeah. We did not see a real jump or a real increase.
Not really, and I hope that maybe some of the investors are waiting for the parliament, for the new parliament to finally start its work and take maybe new measures for a new possibly new investment law and encouraging the infrastructure and the environment for new investors to come and invest from abroad. Maybe this is one of the reasons, and I think also the Egyptian investors themselves, they are not very active. They haven't been very active in the past couple of months. Maybe they're also waiting for the new parliament to start. I hope that with the new parliament that also I hope we see a change also in the government, because actually I think we need, especially in the financial and economic sector, we really need a couple of new decision makers to take new measures and to take more effective measures and more not only supporting but also encouraging measures, especially for the foreign investors. So I hope that the numbers will increase significantly during the next couple of months, because with those numbers, I'm not very happy, to be honest. Yeah.
Moving to the Egyptian Independent, an official told state news agency MENA on Tuesday that Egypt's central bank has sold $7.6 billion in recent weeks to make it easier for importers to pay for goods as the currency crisis and foreign exchange curbs that have hurt trade persist. The central bank official added that some of that sum was also used to pay off foreign investors in dollars. The central bank is facing mounting pressure to devalue the pound despite having sought to inject additional forex liquidity into the market over the past months. The gap between the official and the black market rates remain wide. Central bank forex reserves tumbled to $16.4 billion in October from $36 billion before the uprising. And sought to defend the pound at an artificially strong level. Sir, how do you see the performance of the Egyptian pound and all the moves which are taking place in order to see the real value of the currency and its value against the foreign currencies as well?
As we discussed this many times before during the past couple of weeks, it is a very strange phenomenon which we are currently witnessing in Egypt. All these, the so-called dollar crisis. I think I said that this many times before. Lots of the importers are actually benefiting from this wide gap between the official exchange rate and the black market rate. Some companies in the automotive sector are actually using this wide gap to make even more money, and they're very happy with this very large gap. So I think the government really must find a solution for that, and I think there have been some new measurements recently regarding the import of goods. For example, in the WEF newspaper, which is the next article, we had Egypt's central bank on Tuesday tightened trade financing regulations to support local manufacturing and ease the ballooning trade deficit that has worsened an acute foreign exchange shortage. And now it's importers will have to provide 100% cash deposits on letters of credit for imports instead of the previous 50% or the current 50%. And I think this is very important because this will, first of all, kind of filter the very unprofessional and unprofessional importers from the market, and this will of course create a much bigger, larger supply of the dollar for the more serious importers. And I hope that this will have a positive feedback, not only on the exchange rate, but also on the serious importers and the professional companies, which are really should be of benefit for the Egyptian economy, not like the others who are using their trade more in either for money laundering or for making profit from this gap between the official exchange rate and the black market rate.
And wrapping up our press for today, we read from Al Ahram online. A shaft of sunlight illuminated on Tuesday the usually dark sanctum of the Karnak Temple, an ancient complex in the southern city of Luxor, in a rare astronomical phenomenon that happens twice a year. Around 1,500 tourists gathered to watch the spectacle that has endured for thousands of years of Egyptian history. Photos showed a golden beam of light piercing the center of the Avenue of the Sphinx that lead to the Temple of Amun at the Karnak Temple, one of the most popular sites from the pharaonic era. Provincial Governor Mohamed Badran said the event has become one of the most important tourist affairs of the year, adding that a variety of archaeological and entertainment activities will ensue in the coming months. The spectacle usually draws thousands of tourists to the famed site to watch the ancient tribute, which occurs twice a year to mark the summer and winter solstice. Of course, we all praise the pharaohs and their beauty and what they have done during their time. The fact that the sunlight illuminates the Karnak Temple in a phenomenon which occurs twice a year. So how do you see that, and how do you see the fact that we have to promote for this very unique
actually this is the point that I was going to talk about. I mean, having around 1,500 tourists gathering at this spectacle is really not much, and I think the Ministry of Tourism is doing a big mistake by not promoting those events even for the Egyptians. I think it's even more important for the Egyptians to know their history first, in order to have even to like their history and to have more confidence for themselves. And actually, if we get like 10,000 Egyptians for reasonable price to go visit Luxor and Karnak, I don't know why everyone is concentrating on Sharm el-Sheikh. I think it's, of course...
I believe that Luxor and Aswan are very much important places to be visited, especially with people with kids, to know more about their history.
Of course. I mean, if you go to Sharm el-Sheikh, you're only going to the beach, you know, but if you go to Luxor and Aswan, you can go visit Abu Simbel, you can go to Komombo, you can go to the valley.
Nubia is a beautiful place. If you go to Aswan and Nubia,
exactly, to the Valley of Kings. So there are so many places. You have the Luxor Temple, the Karnak Temple. You have so many areas there, and you can do some night cruises from Luxor to Aswan, for example. So I think it's a big mistake that the Ministry of Tourism is not promoting those local events for the Egyptian local tourists as well.
Indeed. Mr. Mohamed Sheta, our media expert, thank you very much for being with us, and have a lovely morning.
Thank you very much for having me, and have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, our dear viewers, we come to the end of our press review for today. Now we'll go to a short break, and after that we'll be back to continue the segments of the breakfast show, so don't go away.